What's up, Chicago? It's your man, Mace Jackson. Are you out there? Are you ready? What's up, Chicago? Y'all ready for an episode of Illinoismanati? Here to let y'all know we about to get it in tonight. Cause tonight, oh.
Rise and shine.
Wake up!
Wake up.
Wake up!
Wake up.
Wake up!
Rise and shine.
Wake up!
Wake up.
Wake up!
Wake up.
Wake up!
Wake up.
Wake up!
Rise and shine with the WVON Morning Show.
Wake up, wake up, wake up.
Featuring Maze Jackson.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
The WVON Morning Show.
That's just a little commercial.
773-591-1690. Wake up! Rise.
What's up, Chicago? It's your man Maze Jackson, and I am back. How y'all feeling this morning? All right, I want to take not this morning, actually, it's this evening. So take a moment. I want you to share the broadcast. I want you to go get your drinks, get your popcorn, get your name. You notice we on time a little bit closer today. I had a little bit more time to do a little show prep, and to really put a little bit more energy and effort into the show. I think that this is one of the times where you try to start to perfect your craft. And so I want to thank you all for tuning in to Illinoismanati tonight. I am going to hit it for about an hour. And then I am going to get out of here. We're going to run through some of these things. You notice, so you guys know, I am practicing safe social distancing practices. We are in the studio all by ourselves, so I am running the show and everything. Can you all hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Make sure I am audible. Let me know that you can hear me. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. How we looking? Set tight. You know what I'm saying? Check me out. I got my 2 Emmys in the background. See them? Boom, boom. Shout out to my man Simon Edelman who helped me do that. But yes, those are the 2 Emmys you noticed in the background. All right, let me say what's up to some of the people that are here. I want to tell Tiger Lily what's up. I want to let you know you inspired my best friend in my head post. I thought that was really actually funny. When I saw you type it, I was kind of like, what the? And then I put it together. Very good, very good. I appreciate that. And I thought it was made for a great post. I think we may figure out some way to work that into the show at some point. Let's see who else is out there. What's up, Ivan Davila? Ivan Davila, and I am sure my good friend is watching with you as well. You all are going to want to tune into the first part of the show because I'm going to break down some of the happenings that have gone down in the paper. I think you should feel just a touch vindicated. So you all make sure that you tune in for that. But let me say what's up to Regina Gibson. What's up, Aunt Tennille in the building? What's up, Roberto Sepulveda? Hey, Leah Charrier. What, Leah? You know what? What's going on to my girl, Leah Charrier? To Alvin E. Norton, Tiger Lily. What up, Claude Bridges? What? Who else is out there? I'm trying. What's up, Patricia Cunningham? Let's see, Yurley Huff. I see you out there as well. All right, y'all. We are about to. What's up, Don Johnson, all the way from Waukegan, checking in. Jeanette Washington, Marvin Ball, I see you as well. All right, y'all. So, can you believe it? It is episode 7 now. Something is going to have to work out. So, I spent a whole bunch of time today trying to record the podcast so that it can be an audible and I can upload it. And after taking hours and hours and hours of trying to figure it out, I realized that I did not have an SD card or or mini SD or whatever it is. So we got to get all that coordinated. But hopefully we will go back to our origins, which is right here on the Facebook Live broadcast. What is going on? What's up to Nikki Zoller? What you doing tuning in? See, that's when you know if it's real. Y'all, we got some of the biggest of the big willies tuning in. Hey, also, can I encourage everybody to sign up for the weekly intelligence report? Get on my newsletter list. Tanil, if you are out there, can you please please post. Tanil, please post how you can subscribe to the website. Nikki Zoller, no, I am not ignoring you because you're light-skinned. I'm ignoring you because I'm trying to do a show, and you are breaking the third wall. What's up, y'all? But that's what makes these shows so fun, because we try to make them interactive. I think this is one of the things that makes Facebook Live so great, is that you have the opportunity to engage with your audience. But you all, man, I want to commend the WVON listening audience who welcomed Nikki on when she came on to our show. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but I do think you should feel quite a bit vindicated. All right, y'all, take a moment, share the broadcast, take a broadcast. This is no mini SD card. That's right. I got up here. Y'all, do y'all see I'm on time today? I got up here. I got my show notes. I got my set. I got my hole, you dig? I got my camera level set. I'm all together, and I got everything ready. And then I'm trying to record so I can do the audio, and I find out I don't have an SD card. That's right, a mini SD card. But that's what we're just going to have to keep those up. Also, you all, I am looking for people who are doing programming. Do me a favor. If you are at home watching this, feel like if you got like a Fire Stick or if you got a smart TV, why don't you beam us to the TV set, right? Put us on the big screen. You know what I'm saying? Help me with my ego. No, but I am going to be looking to bring you some more programming and trying to share more content, being a better better partner. Also, I want to encourage you all to check out the weekly intelligence report one more time. I have decided that it will no longer just be a Maze Jackson, look at what I did this week, but really give you some more insights and analyzation after realizing how many people actually tune in, actually read the newsletter, sometimes more than myself. Sorry, Tanil. Sometimes more than myself. I've just recognized that Tanil, you've done a really good job with it, and so we want to make sure you sign up. I want to send a big shout out to my beautiful and lovely wife, president of the MWRD, Carrie K. Steele, who wants to remind everyone, it is a toilet, not a trash can. That's right, a toilet, not a trash can. So even though you've got all these flushable, disposable wipes, they are working hard at the MWRD to make sure that we have safe and clean drinking water during this corona crisis. So do us all a favor. Even if the wipe says flushable, throw it in the garbage can. Also excited to be bringing on a new sponsor. Shout out to McDonald's, the Black McDonald Operators Association. Be on the lookout for some great promotions. Want to let you know that they are still open, particularly the Black McDonald Operators Association. So I'm going to be getting you a list of stores, but you know you can use your apps to get food from them, as well as you can go through the drive-through even in these crazy times. Also, shout out to the good Reverend Dr. Willie Wilson, who is doing good in the hood once again with the donation of gloves. By the way, I will have gloves available. I want to do a promotion for Black first responders, but I also, for those of you individually who are looking for gloves or masks, I will have them available starting next week. Just reach out to me and we'll figure out how we can work something out. Shout out to Chef Brian Jupiter, who I think is probably cooking right about now too, who I wish I could do, so maybe I'll do a cooking show with him live. But all right, y'all ready? Have y'all called your friends? Everybody got your drink, got you something? Let's sit on down and let's get ready to go into episode 7. That's right, this is season 2, episode 7, and I want to welcome you to Illinoismanati, Inside Illinois' Political Secret Society. Now, my name, Maze Jackson. I'm the host of the WVON Morning Show. You can catch me every day, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. with my co-host, Todd Stroger. And you know what? The musical conductor, the soul playing, Miss Sonia Escobar, who would ordinarily be here, but she is with her family because we are practicing safe social distancing. Shout out to Melody Span Cooper, who has gone above and beyond also speaking of social distancing, to get us the equipment that will allow us to broadcast while social distancing as well. So thank you. Shout out to the boss lady. I wanted to tell you to tune in every Thursday night through the end of the legislative session in Springfield, which I thought was going to end in May, but now that everything is going on, it's probably going to go all the way through the end of the year, is my bet. So you tune in because there's going to be updates. Now, in the corona times, things have slowed down just a little bit, but there were some interesting happenings that we'll talk about. Also, speaking of Springfield, shout out to State Representative Cambium Buckner for the What's in It for the Black People bill, House Bill 4865. Guys, with the coronavirus going on, we have lost, everything has frozen, and so in the process of everything freezing, our bill has not moved. Just think about this, though, guys. We were on our way to Springfield, and a week later, they declared the coronavirus viable. Are you all nervous about the coronavirus? I have decided, you know what? I have decided that I am not going to let it get me down. I'm going to do what I got to do, but I refuse to let it take me down. So I want to encourage you all, when you are out there every day, whether you're in the crib, whether you have to go to work, whether you're a first responder, let's not let this thing get us down. Let's get together. Now, I want to tell you one more time, tune into the morning show. Because, I've decided that we're not going to turn it into coronavirus radio. We are going to keep you updated and informed. But what I also want to do is try to provide you with some sense of normalcy, some sense of humor, some sense of fun to help us get through these times. So I want to encourage you, check out the WVON morning show, maybe instead of your traditional morning show, right? We broadcast live on Facebook every day, 6 to 9, and I want to just encourage you all to tune in. All right. While we're at it, a couple more things, just a little bit more housekeeping. I want you, if you have not, to go to the Maze Jackson page and like it. Go to the What's in It for the Black People page, like it. Follow me, Maze Jackson, on Twitter or on @MazeJacksonSaid on Instagram. All right, goodness gracious, it seems like it's been so long since we were together. But when we last left off, we were discussing the breakdown of the last election, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the episode. But there have been some breaking developments in the western suburbs, and so I think we're going to take a little time to touch on them, because I chose the word, I'm titling this episode Retribution and Returns, but I think I probably got the word retribution is probably not the correct word. I think maybe you all can help me figure out what the correct word is. Retribution is payback, is my guess. This is more like I told you so. But retribution and returns, it had the alliteration. Shout out Reverend Jesse Jackson. I love those R and R's and those words and alliteration. So I titled this one Retribution and Returns, but I felt the need to touch on this because with the coronavirus going on and being at the very top of everyone's priorities, you're really not seeing a lot of the stories that are in the paper. So what I want to do is I want to skip back, not because if you recall, the feds had got the whole shit wired. Okay, so last week we did the election recap. Then we had the feds had the whole shit wired, and that was when Danny Solis and Mike Madigan had gotten together. But if you go back to the origins of the second season of Illinoismanati start in the western suburbs when we find out about the federal investigation of Senator Marty Sandoval. This was prior to him being indicted, which he has since been indicted. And so when we left last time in the western suburbs, I had introduced you to a few people. Now, this is where we're going to, now bear with me because I'm going to be sharing, if you're watching me on Facebook Live, I'm going to be splitting the screen. So bear with me just a touch, okay? So when we last left, I introduced you to, let me find my picture of the operative. Hold it. Okay. The picture of the operative. I introduced you to the operative. Bam. I then introduced you to the mayor. Whoa, we got some. Whoa, what's that going on down there? I introduced you to the mayor. I also introduced you to, let me see, hold on. Let's do it like this. I got a better way. How about, then I introduced you to, okay, wait a minute. I introduced you to the lobbyists and the law firms. Oh, we can't forget Senator Sandoval. But most importantly, we can't forget the informer. Now, take a good look. Now, I just want to point out that I introduced you to all of that cast of characters and explained to you who they were before the story that just came out this Sunday in the Chicago Tribune. So, excuse me, Sun-Times. Now, I want to also remind you that I told you all that after I heard my good friend Nikki's story, I decided that I was going to consult with her because I thought that she had a legitimate story, and I just felt like, as you know, I always say, I'm not going to bring any wood to the fire, no ropes to the lynchings. And when we opened up And when we opened up, so I'm going to go back a little bit. And when we opened up the Danny Solis storyline, I connected you to the Danny Solis investigation, through this Danny Solis investigation that could eventually lead to Madigan when we saw the indictment of the Chinese businessman and developer. And I told you about the connection that I predict will eventually lead to the comptroller Susana Mendoza being further tangled into the web because of her ties to the vendor assistance program, where she directed vendors to a Solis-run juice loan company, and Solis has since sold his interest, but Susana is still out. But since the coronavirus, things have gotten a little slow, and with all the shutdowns, naturally, I bet there are people no happier than the groups of people that we've been talking about. Those people I just showed you in those pictures. Because it's been Corona World, the best marketed event since WrestleMania. In all seriousness, shit is real out here. So we're taking it seriously here. So when this little story hit the paper, I was like, aha, I finally have the smoking gun. Now, you may not have seen the story, but if you go pick up your Sun Times and you Google, small suburban park draws big-time player swept up in federal corruption probe, in it are all the people I introduced you throughout the Illinoismanati series. I introduced you to Pat Doherty. He was the operative, right? Let me see if I can do this again. Here, guys, I have a script, and I went away from my script. So bear with me a little bit, because I got a script, and I can deliver it. So let me see if I can do it just a little bit better now. All right, so these are the people that I told you about. I told you about... Hold on. Guys, my eyesight is getting bad. Okay. All right. So I told you about Pat Doherty, right? He was the operative. I told you about Mayor Jeff Tobolsky. He was the mayor of McCook. I told you about Presidio Capital. Remember? Back early in the early episodes, I told you about Presidio Capital and the guy who owned it, Omar Manny, who we believe, who we allege, who everyone is reporting is initially confidential witness number 1. Better known as, in some cases, the snitch. Now, we introduced you to all of these characters because Senator Sandoval was caught wearing a federal wiretap, taking a bribe from who? Omar Manny. That's who. Now, we're going to come back to that because now here's my moment where we got to figure out. It's not retribution, but it's, and I need an R word. So you guys help me out while you're out there. I need an R word to fit in here. Now, here's my moment, not revelation, because I need like an I told you so word that begins with an R, and I feel like this one out there. When this whole thing broke, everybody, almost everybody, assumed that this was about safe speed. But I told you it wasn't. I told you it wasn't. Didn't I tell you it wasn't? Tell the truth, shame the devil. I told you it wasn't. I told you that it was about the fact that Omar Manny was using whatever means he could to get anybody he could, and Sandoval, being the type of person that he was, and don't forget, I like Senator Sandoval, I ain't gonna even lie, man. I told you, I used to work with these guys. But Senator Sandoval, being the type of legislator that he was, made for easy pickings when Omar Manny needed to set someone up. But he didn't just set one person up, because he was setting up everybody. And I told you about Presidio Capital. I told you about Omar Manny. Now, did I not? Now, let me break it down. Because now here comes, because now in the story, now what did I tell you the name of that story was? You all go get your Google. Go get your Google. And I want you to go to the Sun Times and I want you to Google small suburban park draws big-time players swept up in federal corruption probe. And then I want you to read the names of the people that I introduced you to earlier in the episodes of Illinoismanati. And if you scroll back, remember I left you on the cliffhanger? And I told you I would tell you who the snitch was? And I told you, remember I said, I'm going to tell you, and I told you it was this guy? But I told you also, and some of you made fun of me when I brought Nikki on the radio. Some of you said, you're just taking money. Some of you all got to squawking. But what I told you was, I said, I will not bring wood to the fire. But see, here I'm going down the wrong path because I'm getting caught up in my R word that y'all got to figure out for me before this show is over. No, it ain't restitution. I don't want no money back. I want you to say, I told you so with an R word. All right. But what I told you was, again, and I'm going to go back, I told you that it was about Omar Manny using whatever he could to get whoever he could. Now it comes out that Manny was actually tied to Doherty through McCook and federally subsidized housing that he had built there previously. Ding, 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 ding. Not to get too far into the weeds on the story, I'll save that for another time. But the story basically details a partnership between Manny, Sam John, and on a park deal gone wrong. Now, essentially, Manny's Presidio Capital refused to pay some subcontractors on a $140,000 park deal that he had wired up in Summit, Illinois. Now, this is not true. I'm going to say this is not true. This is all allegations and speculations. I'm not suggesting that anything that I'm telling you is factual. What I am suggesting is I am telling you what I believe or perceive to have happened, just based on some of the things that I've seen and know about these people. But why do I say wired up? Not because the feds had a wire on him, but because from the looks of the story, Manny got the job in Summit because he had the plug with the Summit Park District Executive Director. It also appears as though he hired the right consultant, right? Right consultant, because even though he wasn't qualified, he got a personal vouch from the Park District Executive Director on the job because he had done on a federal park job because he had done some home building on some subsidized housing out in the suburbs. Now, this is why I got to put my tinfoil hat, my reading glasses, and then read between the lines. Because when the money got split up on the $140K deal, so essentially what happened was Manny's guy got the contract and he hired Manny to build the park. Manny then was supposed to hire all of the subcontractors. But somewhere in the mix, Presidio decided that some people weren't going to get paid. Now, typically, the only problem... Okay, let me stick with my script. I'm going to stick with my script because I'm getting too far ahead of myself. So let me dial it back. The only problem is when the deal is wired, everybody is anticipating their cut. And so if someone doesn't pay, then the whole chain gets interrupted. Now, see, what you got to understand is the rebuilding of these parks and all these things are little jobs that the mayors dole out to their friends. And you get to get a 150 job, and you make, to build a park probably costs you $60,000, so you get to pocket the other $90,000, 140, 90, you put 60, you know what I'm saying, 80,000, you get to pocket that, whatever, because these deals are padded. So essentially what happens is you get the job, one of your guys gets the job, and then you just got to hire all my guys, and everybody knows that they got to get their cut, and then everybody, once they get their cut, has to kick up to the guy who put the whole deal together. So he gets paid off of everybody, right? Okay. So Manny gets the job not having the ability to do it, but he gets a vouch from the Park District Executive Director. Now, my guess, I'm not suggesting this is the truth, my guess is somewhere in the mix, someone that the Park District Director knows or cares about is in the deal. Okay? Might have ownership interest or something, but that's a whole other thing. I'm going to just stay on the political side. Somewhere in here, we leave things up to the imagination because I'm going to stay on the political side of things because I've speculated that when Landscaping Company didn't get paid, they probably got pissed and sued, right? And because there were federal dollars when they sued, because it was a federal job, because they got federal dollars, it then went to federal court, which at some point then raises the antennas of the feds. Now Manny's got a few problems because most of the guys I know in landscaping have guys in waste management too, if you know what I mean. Right? You get that? They got some guys in waste management. Clearly Manny fucked up the money in this scenario. And and even after he got a change order, because the part was initially supposed to only cost $140,000. Some money goes missing. They go and say, we need a change order, and now they get an additional $60,000. But even after getting the $60,000, Manny decides he's not going to pay. Yep. So the landscaper still doesn't get paid. What happened to that money? And how do you pay it back? Well, that's where the feds enter. Because now you got Manny sandwiched between Fed time and the money he's owing people. He's getting sued by one guy, which could break his whole little thing up that we don't know. But remember, he got a deal going on in McCook. So now it's clear Manny has to choose, because now he owes this money. My bet is probably living a fast lifestyle. This is our speculation at this point. Living a fast lifestyle, balling out. Sometimes when you make a lot of money, you don't realize that it ain't enough money. And so now when these checks start coming in, he doesn't cut because he thinks that guy is a little guy. Now maybe the landscaper, maybe he doesn't have somebody in waste management, because if he has somebody in waste management, maybe Manny pays. But the fact of the matter is, maybe Manny felt like he was weak enough so he didn't have to pay this guy. All right? Got it? Am I making sense here? So now Manny owes the little guy $40,000. He refuses to pay him and tells him to kick rocks. Even after he gets money, so I know you got another check. I know you got the money. We made it whole. And he says, fuck you, I'm not paying you anyway. Ooh. Sorry, guys. Things got a little hotter around here. So now, Manny's got a problem. He's got a federal lawsuit, and he owes money. And since he hasn't paid everybody, nobody's getting their cut, because he spent the juice. So now everybody who thought they was getting $10,000 or $5,000 or whatever they was getting are getting nothing. And so now guess whose ass they're coming for? Do I need to show you a picture? His. So now he's got a court case, he's got the guys, and he's got the feds standing at his face saying, so what's going on with these housing deals that you've got going on? You know you're looking at a lot of time here. So now Manny says, shit. And the feds say to you, well, you know we can help you. But for us to help you, you got to give us somebody. Now see, this is where all the suckers, again, I need my R word, assume that he was working on behalf of my girl Nikki to bribe people, when actually at that point the feds say, go get who you can get. We don't care how you get them. Any of y'all been watching Ozark, right? See how they've been doing people, right? So now Manny has to go get somebody and bring back a trophy, because if not, now the feds tell you, oh, we'll give you the money you owe to those people, but you got to bring us some people back. Well, now I don't got the guys trying to knock my head off, but now I got to go get people for the feds. And once the feds say, so obviously there's some other things going on over here with this Presidio Capital, but those deals are done. So how do you go get someone? You use everything you got. And what does he have? He has a partnership in a lucrative company, and he has a greedy legislator, and he says, not only can I get you, but I can get this person, this person, this person, this person. Now what essentially you're finding out is, and the reason he knew he could get these people is because, remember, every time he cuts somebody in, he gets a piece of their deal. So now what you've got is Manny, who's already been working crooked deals with people, right? Now turning on those people and turning them in because he knew that they were already willing to kick in and get down. Now, you thought it was all about safe speed. And you thought they was private. No. What happened was, Manny was on the hook with the feds because they had him on another space. He couldn't get him on that, but it was easy to use and leverage the safe speed. Bam. Now, it's clear that Omar Manny chose at that point that he was going to side with the feds and nobody was safe, especially the people he was already doing dirt with. Now, I just need to make sure you understand that by the end of this Presidio Capital deal at the park, which is the string that opened the door because it was federal money and federal funds, and so it went to federal court, he opened the door up to the feds. Did that make sense to y'all? Were y'all able to follow that? So, what you will now start to see is that this whole deal that everybody was talking about with the safe speed joint, really wasn't about safe speed. It was really about a partner in safe speed looking to get as many people as he can. And guess what, y'all? There's more to come. All right, now I'm gonna take a quick break, have a sip of my. Oh, there's no free advertising. I'm looking for people to advertise and sponsor. So if you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, please don't hesitate. Give me a hot second. I'm gonna take a break, and when I come back, we are gonna jump into the Cook County elections and some of the key things that I learned during that. Hey, y'all, but I do want to send a big shout out to my girl, Nikki Zoller, who people dragged her name through the mud and dragged her up and down and was ready to hang the black woman by her toenails. And we found out that the white boys once again used the black company to set somebody up. We become cannon fodder in their issues. All right, y'all. So make sure y'all, can y'all do me a favor? Can you promise me that we won't bring wood to the lynching? We won't bring no ropes to black people stuff. We can at least just be quiet instead of jumping on the bandwagon. There's plenty of white folks that do you wrong every day. Not a lot that black folks that do as much and give back as much. So I just need to send a shout out to my girl. All right, y'all. Give me a hot second. When I come back, we are going to be talking about what happened in the Cook County elections, part 2, and some of the key observations. And I'm going to take a look at the MWRD race. Shout out to the winners that were endorsed by What's in It for the Black People. Shout out to Kimberly Neely Dubuclay, who was the #1 vote getter. And shout out to my girl, Era Corral Sepulveda. Shout out to my boy, Roberto, as well. We're going to talk about that race and what we can learn and what is our way forward. This is a Corona virus edition of Illinoismanati. I'm still looking for our word. We'll get that before the end of the show. When we come back, I'm going to be talking about the Cook County elections. We'll be right back.
Rise and shine.
Wake up!
Wake up.
Wake up!
Wake up.
Wake up!
Wake up.
Wake up!
Rise and shine with the WVON Morning Show.
Wake up, wake up, wake up.
Featuring Maze Jackson.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
The WVON Morning Show.
Wake up!
Call 973-591-1690. Wake up! Rise.
And we are back. That's right. It is season 2, episode 7 of Illinoismanati. And when we last left off, we were talking about retribution for the people at Safe Speed. Finding out that Omar Manny, the person that I told you initially was the snitch. Now, guys, I don't have a lot of time left. I'm going to be wrapping up very close to 8 o'clock, so I want to leave a little time for question and answers. So I am going to jump into some of the things that I noticed about the 2020 Democratic primary. Hey, how many of you all thought we should have not held the primary? Just out of curiosity, everything we know about the coronavirus. Today, JB advised the governor of Wisconsin to vote by mail, not to necessarily have the election. He wouldn't admit it, but he did say that he thought they should vote by mail. All right, y'all. Who is still rocking with us? Shout out to Tiger Lily. What up, Reginald Camper? What up, Roberto? What up, Yvonne? What's up, Leah Charrier? What up, Prescott Hilson? What up, Carol Zwiazek? What up, Marvin Bell? What up, Tiger Lily? All right, y'all, I'm ready to go. All right, so now moving on to the election in Cook County last week, I discussed with you the difference between why Kim Foxx won and Richard Boykin lost. I'll maintain that Iris Martinez won primarily because she was a woman, not because she was a Latina, but because she was a woman, combined with the fact that Boykin was compromised in the black community by the Democratic Party. Now, in the case of the MWRD, which is a race that I watched probably most closely, all of the slated candidates won. That includes Kimberly Neely Dubuclet, who was the #1 vote getter, Cam Davis, and Era Corial Sepulveda. Now, that race was interesting, and I'll need to go back and take a look at it with updated numbers. Shout out to Era for coming on strong during the vote by mail. Some of the biggest factors that I saw play out in that race were women. Hence, all of the top vote getters, with the exception of Cam Davis, were women. I noticed one of the things that I also saw was that Frank Avila, who was unslated by the Democratic Party, which did two things. It allowed the unions to not stick with the incumbents, as was in the case of Patricia Teresa Flynn, and it caused Avila to run his own slate, which essentially cannibalized his own voter base. Another key observation in that race, Cam Davis was the only man who was in the top 5 candidates, and he wildly benefited from the white North Shore's planned undervoting in the race. Now, I just want to remind you all, we saw that via email, and in case you don't remember, that was the email that we showed on the WVON morning show, in which the strategy for the North Shore white Democrats was to undervote in the Metropolitan Water Reclamation race, with the goal of trying to give Cam to weigh the vote towards Cam. Now I must be honest. I think that happened because I think what essentially happened was, and I'm gonna tread lightly here, but Cam Davis did not do a lot to endear himself to a lot of the black committeemen because of some of the choices he made, particularly things like suggesting that there be term limits only after MWRD had elected the first black woman president. That stated, Cam was not on quite a few of the palm cards on the South Side, but what happened, particularly in the black committeemen, who in a show of support, who I thought was pretty dope though, for them to show the support, knowing what he had done to Kerry. That stated, he benefited wildly because his name sounded black, and then on the North Side, a lot of white folks undervoted, so they only voted for one when there were three. Era had a few things going for her. First, she was a Latina woman, right? And we know that women vote more, so my bet is, and I'm sure we'll debate this, but my bet is Latina women who probably vote more often decided to vote for Era, at least as one of the candidates. The endorsement by the party, and in this case, this is one of the cases where in the MWRD race, I do believe that the mailing from the party that touched everybody in the county gave the slated candidates a leg up. But I'm going to also say that she was a relentlessly hard worker. And I got to give a shout out to my man Roberto, because even as the onslaught was coming, Roberto was out every day. And you know what? I need to just say this. The two first people that were not black that supported Wasn't It For the Black People was Era and Roberto. And it was a very challenging, it was challenging to endorse a Latina. It was actually a challenge to endorse two Latino and Latina candidates. Particularly because there were rumors that Era was recruited by North Shore liberals to take out Frank Avila, who cast the deciding vote for Kerry. Now, this is not on any of them. This is all, again, my rumor and speculation combined with some things that I saw. But I think that before we ever talked about them running for any spots or trying to be in that space, Era and Roberto have been ardent supporters of What's in It For the Black People. And y'all know I do not believe in no black and brown coalition, but I have always said that if there would be one, it would be with Roberto. And I remember as he was finding out people were double-crossing him and the unions were making their moves, he just kept trudging away. And I'm going to tell you, I didn't know it towards the end what was going to happen. But I will tell you that I envision him as a comrade not only because I know what it's like to be in an onslaught and having to fight for your wife. So I just got to give him some shouts out there. I also think that played into Roberto had a collection of alliances that made it difficult, even if you weren't working for her, to work against her. Then if you add the fact that there were two white Irish women who split the white Irish vote, I think that played a very strong role in Era's victory as well. And it's funny because Frank Avila did himself in with those. Now, a couple of factors that we should watch and pay attention to in this race. Union influence. This is the second time that in the MWRD race that the unions have short-circuited the endorsement process and inserted a candidate with the assistance of the Democratic Party to throw overboard slated candidates, which is just a bit disconcerting because we saw it happen. First of all, shout out to my man Marty Durkin. I'm glad Marty Durkin won compared to Tom Greenhall, because Marty's a straight up dude, compared to having to work with a white liberal. I'm not tripping. But again, I think it's something to pay attention to because we saw the same thing happen in this case with Patricia Teresa Flynn, who all of the unions in a lot of cases convinced people to throw slated candidates off of the ballot in her interest. My guess is she'll be back to run again, and in the next case she'll get the slating, and then she'll be a slated candidate. But I think we got to watch that and the union short-circuiting the process. Secondly, the North Shore proved who they were because they were, when it came down to the end, they didn't honor any alliances. There was no more. They cut everybody and went with their candidate. Now, I think Frank Avila hurt himself and his chances significantly by teaming up with Heather Boyle, a white Irish woman who may have helped him get signatures, but essentially drew votes away from him, and Dion Dean. Dion was an endorsed candidate because he was the black candidate. He never sought out endorsement. There was not a lot of money in that race. But I think Frank made a fatal error in choosing to run a slate, because in choosing to run a slate as an incumbent, he then tied himself to people that no one owed. So it was easy to say, I would help you, but you got these people with you, if that makes sense. The slate allowed anyone who would have helped them on that side with an easy exit plan, and they could support the incumbent. But, hey, you got those guys, we can't. And Heather Boyle, white Irish woman name, ate a tremendous amount of his votes. And then I got to just tell the truth. Frank Avila is one of the hardest working commissioners and a super nice guy and super knowledgeable about everything. But his son, Frank Jr., is a straight up asshole. And he so overbearing that, you know how it's somebody that makes you not, like, you want to help somebody, but they got an asshole in the back who just makes it difficult for everybody. That's essentially what helped him off the cliff. I just got to tell the truth. And Frank Jr. is a fraternity brother of mine. But, man, he acts like an ass. The other thing that became extra real to me was the lack of real power and influence that the once powerful white Irish wards had. Actually, and I harped on this last week, but I have to be clear, the numbers just don't lie. The only thing the Green Team really controls is the perception of power. But it will be the first people that black people seem to fear or respond to, unless we change the perception. The fact is, right now in Illinois, black people control a majority of the power spots. Lieutenant Governor, Secretary of State, Attorney General, Cook County Board President, Cook County Clerk, Mayor, City Treasurer, MWRD President, State's Attorney, Supreme Court, Chief Judge, and a host of mayors. As we used to say back in the day where I come from, big bank take little bank. And guess who got the big bank when it comes to the votes between the white, Irish, Latinos, and blacks? I don't give a damn what they tell you about no census, no nothing. When the votes got counted, it's white people from the liberal whites is in the first spot, but when it comes to blacks, Latinos, and white Irish, black people mollywop both of those groups. Both of them. Big bank take little bank, we take the bank. Now let me just tell you, and even if you follow that principle, if you follow that principle, if you match the Latino votes versus the white Irish votes, guess what? Big bank take little bank. Latinos need to be taken from the white Irish. So it's time like we act like it in word and deed. When the remap comes, and I'm talking about the remap, I'm all for Latino growth in power, proportionate to your voting strength. And based on the voting strength, y'all need to be looking at the white Irish wards. See, because here's what's going to happen. I say this because while black people need to get their minds right around where we stand with our voting power, the voting power dynamic, Latinos need to get their minds right into where their real opportunity lies. And it ain't in black wars. Take what you already got. It's time for us to all start thinking strategically. White guys in power are very soon going to be enlisting black and brown people in their fight to maintain power. What they're going to do is they're going to hand a gun to the Latinos and say, go shoot the black people. But how about this for a change? It's time for us to reevaluate. It's going to come in the form of the remap, in a process that white people have convinced us is necessary for fair black representation. So y'all, they got us fighting for the fair maps, and not for the fair maps, but to continue to control the maps. And the white guys are all for it, because guess what they do? They can guarantee that they'll give us as many wards and towns and townships and all that shit that we want, as long as we do what they say. It's time to change the dynamic. Now, I'm no fool, and not one moment do I think that white liberals who sit on top of the voter power dynamic with their fair maps legislation is any better. But here's what I do know. Here is what I do know. Before black people make any decisions based on political fear, we need to be clear about the math. You see, the way I see it is the last people that should be considered in the next map making process is quite simple. The people with the least votes. So, as they sit smugly in the corner, black people, and I'm talking about them white green team Irish guys that stand around at the city council meeting, y'all need to remember a few things. They have the least seniority. There are no more Pat O'Connors, no more Dick Mills. Dick Mill wasn't Irish. There are no more of the old guards. Everybody now, the top ranking people in city council are black. Ed Burke ain't got no wings. Kerry Austin, Alderman Burnett, all of those guys, Anthony Beale, Emma Mitz, we are the new power dynamic in the city council, but we cannot allow people to take our lunch. So, one more time, as they sit smugly with their green ties and going to the Irish fellowships and and then going to parties and laughing and fighting about who's going to pay for the next round of $1,000 drinks, we need to count. We need to learn how to count. They made their money. They had their power. They moved to the suburbs. It's our turn now. Hey, y'all. This is your man, Maze Jackson, with the 7th episode of Illinoismanati. Now, I want to ask you to tune in tomorrow morning from 6 to 9. 6 to 9 tomorrow, because we need you to tune in to the WVON morning show. I think it's important, guys. It is imperative that we know our place in this society. Now, sometimes when you hear people say, you know your place, it means less than. But quite frankly, y'all, we got the math. We got the titles. Let's take the power. All right? Any questions? Any questions? Let me see who's out there rocking with me. Shout out to Keith Harris. He's still an asshole. Shout out to Carol. Shout out to Keith. Shout out to Roberto. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Tiger. Shout out to Desmond. Shout out to Yvonne. See, Yvonne, you just gotta tell your brown people stop trying to take the club and hit us with it. Hit the white people with it. Shout out Ada. Shout out Lionel Nixon. Shout out Jeanette Washington. Shout out Prescott Hilson. Shout out Verdella Washington. Shout out Reginald Camper. Shout out to everybody who tunes into Illinoismanati. Y'all, I'll be back next Thursday. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. And, if you need some gloves and all that, tune into the morning show. All right? Is it? Okay. All right. You ready? You good? Yep. How much time do I go? And it's only 6 minutes long. Anybody got any questions? I take questions. I take any questions. Who has the most challenging election now that the primaries are over? Ooh, I'll have to check. Yeah, but I do think it is. Keith, you're right. It's time for us to take over and really take our spot in this joint. It is. It is. Y'all coronavirusing it up? I'm tired of coronavirus. But it's all good. Hey, y'all. I think this production came out all right, huh? What y'all think? I did it solo dolo. Now if somebody could just give me an SD mini card. Hey, did y'all know Sonia Escobar had a birthday this week? It was 2 days ago. So we have to put that on the birthday list. Also, tune in tomorrow to the WVON morning show where Mike Love and The Diz will be coming back talking about their podcast, Chicago Famous. All right, y'all. See my 2MC. Right there. All right, we out of here. All right, y'all. It's your man, Mace Jackson. Until next week, we out of here. Peace!